movie notes on Deepwater Horizon 2016 film, 12 October 2024 viewing. I just finished viewing this today, Saturday, 12 October 2024. And this is the disc and the jacket. In it, they both have Mark Wahlberg's face on them, but this one has that and this one has that. They're slightly different. This is a copy I got from the library system, King County Library System. It's a public library system. And my description for this reading is it's a biographical film about an oil rig malfunction for a rig named Deepwater Horizon that began on Tuesday, 20 April 2010 in open water. Yes, I actually remember this when it happened. It was my approximately 2 months later, I graduated with my first college degree at the age of 17, and then the following week graduated from high school. And I've been taking classes. Did I have multiple earth science classes that term? So this was like a timely thing of like, look, I'm in class doing this. And in middle school, I'd done a project on oil spills. I was in middle school 2004 to 2006. I think it was in health in like 2005 to 2006. It did count for a health project. So I was like, yeah, look at that. What I've chosen to, because we got to choose our own topic for the projects. And so I was like, that's nice. And I chose to take the environmental science classes and stuff. And so I was like, that's kind of cool to have some base environmental understanding that was relevant for this one. And so it was open water, so a rig out, not in a lake or something, and things go wrong. And yeah, so it's a scary thing. Who am I in this movie? All right, I have a second college degree now that I got later in geology and geophysics with a minor in mathematics. But who am I in this movie? I'm one of the geologists. They actually do have geologists in the movie. I think it was Dylan O'Brien character. The geologists are the ones out there with the mud, like when they're like bringing stuff up. And so I'm out there with the mud when it goes wrong. Okay, I'm a geologist. I've been out in the field and slept in mud and then had trouble standing up in mud because it's really, really, really slick mud. You know, like oil is a naturally occurring substance, and if out in the field there's mud with oil in it, right, you might be close to what people mine for oil. Oil is entirely natural, which is actually a very cool thing about it. And it forms under certain geologic conditions. And yeah, so kind of moral of the story there is I'm not afraid to get dirty in the field. And so I was like, based on my own life experience, that character, yeah. And my college degree in geology and geophysics. So it turns out I am not the all dolled up, nice and pretty female engineering type. I do not have a degree in engineering in any discipline. But yeah, so when I watched this, I've watched this a number of times. I did decide to go with a library copy this time. It is one that I just kind of like loved because I was like, it has geology. And I'm like, that's me. And then it kind of tied together some stuff I had been covering of my own choosing in school, right up to this happening. So that was kind of cool. And it goes into the life. So it is biographical in the sense of it covers people who were on the Deepwater Horizon, the oil rig itself, and it shows the progression of events. So there we go, including the kind of more scientific or technical aspects that I would say for my notes on science-y books and movies, I would say the qualification there is like something's engineering. So like I have the 33, which was about a mine collapse. And it was like, that's a geology. That's rocks too, you know. Like mud is like very teeny tiny little particles of rock, you know, and minerals, yeah, stuff. So I would say it's like it's engineering when things go right, and then when things go wrong, it's like it falls into the science category because it's like, okay, now what do we do? Right? Use the scientific method to get our way out, you know, whether or not they actually say it's the scientific method, that kind of thing. So for that classification purposes, that's where this goes. So I was thinking through this, and I was like, it gets into the dynamics a bit between workers on the rig and then like the owners of the company. the company that was drilling there. And so, and they have these meetings between people, and the problems have piled up, and so there's a little bit of, maybe the temperament is a little bit of more elevated than normal because there has been a pile up in problems. And so I was like thinking of like, can I extrapolate that to what I've been talking about, like me, PhD in Italy, PhD in physics in Italy, in the country of Italy, in physics, discipline of physics. Can I extrapolate that to, okay, think about it for myself. We don't want problems to accumulate, but like, yeah. So can I extrapolate? So where to hold group meetings with no on-campus office? So we're going through Italy has size problems in certain, might not come with an office kind of thing. So taking that into account, where would I hold my group meetings if I had a student or two or something like that? Well, I was a librarian's assistant in 4th and 5th grades, about 8, 9, 10 years of age, and a volunteer at Richmond Beach Library, public library system, where I put this on hold and picked it up from, and I've featured in a number of videos now. So I volunteered there when I was about 13 to 14 years of age. Maybe we could meet at a public library depending on number of people, and if we can, so like if there's a number of us, reserve a room, and so there's spaces available. Eventually I may open the meetings up to the public if we reach a point where we each have stable foundations in our research, so kind of like a semi-open door policy. An example of where it may be a closed door group meeting is if I am providing feedback on presentations, talks, and or posters following presentation at a conference. Right, it's not really appropriate to open that up to yet even more potential ridicule. Right, they've already presented at a from my perspective, they've already presented at a conference, and as somebody who's been like ridiculed in public during a talk that I gave, like during the question and answer period, I'm like, well, the appropriate path there is like not necessarily having it open to even more ridicule, or that's something I would have appreciated but that I did not receive from my advisor for that project. So actually being like, I can improve, right? That was the #1 institution I was at, and I was like, from my experience, doesn't mean they got it right. So I was thinking it for myself, right? Not saying that I'm better, but me improving on it for myself makes it better than the #1 institution. Right? And I'm just saying that was a very real area for improvement, or for like from my perspective. The advisor did not think so. So it's like, there you go. So it's like, there's one that from my real experience. So, and then, okay, I was like, let's say things hadn't gone wrong. There was a very real, in this movie, like, they had a bunch of problems. So, like, if things hadn't have gone wrong, they would have had a lot of work to do on the rig itself, right? To get it back up in, like, running in pristine or like new kind of condition, right? So I was like, so there were, which would have been great potentially for the employees, right? They're like, we get to work on it and it's going to be better conditions in the future, right? So there's like a desirable there. So I was like, okay, how to go about extending my contract with Mr. David Beckham, even if it is just a reduction to 2 hours and increase to say $5,000 per hour to accommodate me being in graduate school, right? So like extensions of the contract, like if he's like, well, I still want you for a decade, but even if it's only like 2 hours for you, and I got to really figure out what I want for those 2 hours, or you define them and we'll see, like, you know, that kind of thing. So I was like, hey, in one of the written reports for the year, so like the thing I've already talked about for like the first year contract, but this is like more general. So in one of the written reports for the year, or whatever form it may take, provide hours and items for the next year's contract. All right, so maybe 2 hours is a bit low, or maybe the minimum then is like 14 hours in one written report or something like that for a given year. So example for first year contract, provide next year's breakdown and hours, provide next year's in a collision assessment written report, then adjust if necessary in crossover style guide from in-person expectation in Hungary and Italy written report. So essentially the first year is described, has 4 written reports. So in the first written report, lay out the stuff for the following year, and then in the third written report, if they're written in that sequence, right, then be like, do I need to adjust it now that it's 2 reports later? Do I need to adjust it at all, or does it still stand? So there we go. It's an interesting one. I enjoyed this movie. 5 out of 5 stars. 100 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it's also an interesting one to think about. What if things hadn't gone wrong? They still had problems that needed addressing in terms of the rig itself. So maintenance is a very important thing. If we don't want disasters or we don't want malfunctions or anything like that, maintenance is key. So there we go. This is my movie. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Norway and United States of America. Those are my movie notes on Deepwater Horizon, 2016 film, 12 October 2024 viewing.